Hey there, it's Steph. Welcome to the Stef Fox podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome. I'm Stef Fox, and I am here today with Jen LeBlanc, who I'm excited to have on because not only is she an awesome leader and coach in the professional beauty industry, but she's also a really good friend of mine. So this conversation is going to be all about what it's like to lead, to be a mom, to have a family. Basically just a great conversation that I think most of us, especially in professional beauty, are trying to learn how to do better. So Jen, welcome. Thanks for being on with me.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so I thought we would start the conversation just with, first of all, like, give us some advice. Like, you are a working mom in leadership, you're a coach, you work with a ton of salon owners that are women. What advice would you give to other women that are trying to run the business, trying to raise the kids, like, doing all the things? Where would you start with some advice?
Just keep swimming.
Tell us more about that.
Just keep swimming. From our perspective, we're moms, we have kids, there's spouses involved, and we have teams, we have sometimes partners, and there's a lot of people in the puzzle, right? And there's a lot of people that have a lot of opinions about how we should spend our time and what we should spend our time on. And I think a big part of us being able to show up at the right time for the right people takes a lot of practice. And what I mean by that is I don't think I had my home life mastered, and I have a 12-year-old, until he was 8 or 9, where I constantly felt like I probably poured more into my salon life and probably let my home and marriage life, I was fully present. But if you text me, I was right. I could be laying in bed with my son and I was right back. I was engaged. And I think Bo was 7 or 8, maybe 6 or 7. And it was like a sticking point to me that it's a core memory. He said, "Mom, can you put down your phone and spend time with me?" And to this day, he's 12 now. I have not forgotten. And he's good at it now. Even this weekend, we had a one-on-one weekend. And if I even looked at my phone, he was like, "Don't touch the phone. We're watching our show," or "Don't touch the phone." You know what I mean? And it's like this reminder, right? To be fully present with who we're with, to be fully present at it. And I still don't have that mastered with my husband, right? Like sometimes he's like, "You're going to have to put the phone down." And you're like, "Yeah, I want to," but it's like this, we always want to solve everyone's problem right when we get the problem. And being able to know whose problem needs to be solved right now and whose problem can wait, whether it's my own salon, whether it's a coaching client, that's hard, right?
Yeah.
Like it's hard when you want to fix it all. Even when you show up in the beauty space as an owner, it's notorious. They want to fix everything right now. They want to just put the Band-Aid on it, fix it, and that's not always the right way to go about it. And we want to do that. I feel like that takes a lot of practice. Don't you think? Like that discipline to say, "I'm fully present at home right now, and unless something's burning down, I'm with my kids." Or "I'm doing this right now, and unless something is catastrophic, I'm not going to let it affect me." Does that make sense? Like, I think that's a learned behavior. That's not a natural,
Yes.
at least to me, that was a learned behavior. Like, I had to read a lot of books. I had to read Atomic Habits multiple times. I had to read a lot of John Maxwell studies. My mentors helped me to be able to differentiate that. You just don't wake up and know how to do that. You know what I mean? Like, that's not a learned behavior. For me, it
Yeah.
wasn't anyways.
I mean, it's not for me either, and I think this is something you and I talk about a lot, and you're
Mm-hmm.
very good at this. I mean, I just last week, like, I tried to call you, and you text me
Yeah.
back, like, watching a show with Bo and cuddling,
Yeah.
like, call
Yeah.
you later. Like, so
Yeah.
you are really, really good at honoring that boundary, and
I'm
I know
trying.
that, yeah, well, that's the best we can do, and I think for me, like, I always am, like, monitoring my level of mom guilt,
Mm-hmm.
and I never want the energy of mom guilt. Like, it
Mm-hmm.
sucks. It's
Mm-hmm.
depleting. It's soul sucking. And the only way that I get out of mom guilt is to get really aware and learn the behaviors you're talking about, of like
Mm-hmm.
setting the right boundaries so
Well,
that I can
especially
be fully
because
present.
yeah, especially because we travel a lot,
Exactly.
and as I couldn't do what I do without the balance of the home life that I have with my husband. I wouldn't be able to travel like I do. Sunday I leave and I'm home 3 days in a span of 14 days. That's going to be hard on Bo because we've been together the whole month of January. And usually because my events were local, I would have traveled. So that would have broke up the time together a little bit. And I think then when you're home for a long period of time and then you're gone for long stretches, that's a little bit of a harder adjustment. Does that make sense? Because
Yeah.
the pattern isn't quite there. So his expectation of when I'd be gone, then I was home, is kind of a little bit confusing. So he was like, well, how many days till you're not here? And you're like, I'm trying to prep him so that it's not like mom vanished again, right? But that's a hard balance. And FaceTime has improved that. The fact that, he can call, he can text, whatever, that obviously is very, very helpful, but it's not the same, and I don't think that guilt ever goes away. I want to raise him, and I know we've talked a lot about this. I want to raise him believing that his mom followed her dreams, and I want him to remember seeing that so that when he has his own kids, he has that recollection of it all worked out and everyone got what they needed and I got to do what I wanted to do too. Does that make sense? Like it's really important to me that he sees that he believes that. And I always tell him he's my why. You're my why of why I'm doing this. I don't know that he actually understands that, but it's for me getting to do what I love. And me getting to do what I love, I tell you all the time, I would do it for free. I'd hop on every one of those airplanes just to go do what I love to do over and over and over again. And I want him to remember that, right? Like mom set out on something and she was able to make an impact on lots and lots and lots of people. And he got to see it. And he was kind of like he had a front row seat and watching that happen. Did that mean that I was gone quite a bit? Yeah. My ultimate goal is for him to be able to come, at some point here and kind of see it, maybe like a 4-day or something like that. And, John's like, soon as he can operate a camera, he can come. And I'm like,
Put him to
Bo,
work.
Bo, you cannot. But he's like, listen, tell me that wouldn't be hilarious if Bo was doing some interviews. And I was like, actually, he probably wouldn't be that bad at it. So I'm like, dude, you want to come for a day? You got to learn how to use a camera. You can use a camera. You can come, And so, that's really important to me. I really want him to know that I did this for him, for us.
Yeah. So I think a lot of the people that are going to be listening to this podcast are men or women that are trying to pursue professional routes, and a lot of them are going to have families too. And I know balance is a word that everybody thinks of differently and we all look at differently. Depends on our priorities, our skills, right? Balance takes skill. So talk to me about what is balanced for you and how do you navigate feeling balanced at home and at work?
You're going to laugh when I say this, but my feeling of feeling balanced at home is, did I cook a good dinner for my family? Did I make it to the basketball game? Did I make it to the rugby match? Did I make it to practice? Did I have a fulfilling first half of the day doing what I love? And then was I still able to feel whole that night, right? Like that's balanced me. I'm not saying that, now I probably go to bed earlier than Bo did, but when Bo was really young, I would usually go back to work after he went to bed, right? And I don't do that anymore. Like now it's like when work day's done, I try really to like shut it down. So if I'm making dinner, if I want to make it to a practice, if I want to make it to a game, that it's important to me for me to show up when I can, as much as I can, because there are times when I'm not there. I'll give you an example. During football season, Andre is a coach, and 2 years ago, Bo said, like it was like the first week of the season, he said, are you not going to come to practice? And I said, no, I'm like, I got 2.5 hours at home. Like, I'm going to go ride my bike. I'm going to read my book. And he was like, I would really like you to come watch me do what I love. And I was like, and for 2 years, if I was in town, I didn't miss a practice. And I had moms that would come over and they're like, isn't that your husband out there? And I'm like, yeah. They're like, what do you do and stand in here? And I'm like, it's important for Bo for me to be here. And that, back to the question about balance, when I'm then away, I kind of have to play that in my head that I am very present when I'm here. And it kind of helps with that guilty feeling of if I do miss a match, if I do miss something, in my mind, I was as present as I could be, right? And there's fun conversations between balance and obsession, right? Like, can we be balanced and still be obsessed with what we do, right? Like, is that possible? I don't know. You know, I feel like I'm balanced at times, and then there are other times where I get into something and I'm damn right obsessed with it. But does that mean I'm not balanced in other areas? You know, can you be both? Can you be obsessed with what you're doing and feel balanced at the same time? I don't know.
I think you can, but I don't think balance is equal.
Okay.
I think that balance is more of an equilibrium. And it's like you have a travel week. So that week is not equal time with your family as it is time with work. But the week after, or even the few days before, might have been more time with family.
Sure.
Because you knew that that trip was coming and you wanted to prioritize that time and presence. And so I think it's really, in my life, balance is checking in with my inner state of being. Like, do I feel the way I really want to feel about my life every day? And I know for me, this is something that's come up just in my last podcast recording with another like woman who's in business, Heather, who you know. This idea that like her method for successful balance is really very similar to what you just described. It's being fully present in whatever side you're in. And for her hours look a lot different than yours or than mine, and ours look different than hers. But the idea that wherever you're needed and wherever you're spending the energy in that moment, that you get very present there is a theme, I think, across all three of us who are successful women, you know, running businesses, raising families. Now, where my inner being that needs to feel the way I want it to feel, my tip that I would say, and I'm curious what yours would be, I'm a huge, as you know, like calendar blocker. Like I am scheduled. I just have to.
Yeah, I'm pretty envious of your ability to do that. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, it's honestly, it's like it's the coping mechanism that lets me do as much as I do, because it allows me in my brain when it's like 2:00, it's time to pick up the kids. If my brain is still reeling with all the work things, if I just take 2 minutes and I plug those things that are like at the very front of my mind, like overwhelming me almost because now I'm out of time to do them.
Yeah.
If I plug them in somewhere, I can release the tension because I know there's a space for them and I know I'm not going to forget them. So I'm a master list maker. I use Trello. I'm a master calendar organizer purely out of need, like functional need.
Well, I mean, I'm definitely a list maker. Like I don't live without, like, I have house projects, 1, 2, 4, go, my salon. Like I live off of the list scenario, but I feel like you're really good at segregating time down the line. You know what I mean? Like, you know, you're really good at like, nope, this is a vacation week. Like, I'm not traveling. You couldn't pay me $1 million. I'm going away. You know what I mean? Like, this is what's happening. You're really good at that. And whether that was learned or you developed that skill over how you felt about when you didn't do that, either way, it was a learned behavior.
Yeah, definitely learned. And I mean, for me, in my dynamic, obviously, like, I'm a single mom who has shared parenting with my son's father. And so managing my calendar against their schedules is a
whole nother layer.
And it requires that I be really organized in order to feel that balance so that I can travel when they're not with me and not miss that time.
Sure.
So as a woman that is like pursuing a dream, working really hard, helping other people achieve dreams, like, how do you navigate, like, what's enough?
Ooh. What's enough where? Like,
in any of it. Like, what allows you to decide, like, my time is maxed, now it's time for Bo and Andre? Or I'm good with the income I'm making. I don't need to say yes to more trips, or
Yeah,
I'm
that's a
willing to
good,
take extra vacation weeks this year because it's all good. It's enough.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm almost there, right? I'm almost there. And what I mean by that is, I want to travel a certain number of times a month. I have times in the summer where I block my calendar and I don't travel at all, and then times obviously around the holidays. And for my family, my role and what I'm able to do, we're almost able to achieve some really big family goals that we've been working on for 15 years, right? And so we're so close to that, I could probably taste it, And so I'm almost at the point to where like I'm good, right? Like I'm good, the family's good, and we're close. And so if that's the definition of almost enough, almost, it's
Yeah.
almost enough, and it's one of those things to where I think a lot of leaders and a lot of women in business, we get focused on material things that we want or we want to have. And this is a commonality between you and I know because we've had multiple conversations around it. What I want that's material based, though, is I want to be able, the things that I want materialistically wise are always around bringing people together,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like I I want my home and future home to be where my son brings all of his buddies back to. I want to be the neighborhood place that all the people in the neighborhood, are hanging out at. So my ability, I love serving is probably one of my top love language. Providing is probably one of my, I don't know if that's a direct love language, but you get what I'm saying. Like I
Yeah.
like to host, I like to provide, I like to serve. Food, connecting over food, and I want to be able to provide it on a larger level. So that to me might be like my pinnacle of enough is when we get that right, then it's like now I have to maintain it, right? Like I can't stop doing what I'm doing. Um, but I don't know if that directly answers your question, but that's what I'm shooting for. That's what I'm shooting for.
Yeah. So, in the pursuit of what feels like enough, I know you do a pretty good job now of having a lot of the things you just described you envision having in the future because you have a lot of
Hmm.
times Bo's friends are over and
Yeah,
great neighborhood. Like, you already
yeah.
do those things. But while you're doing this work, in the times that it feels like overwhelming, like you are stretched thin, what do you do to reset yourself? And, like, what advice would you give to other leaders who are, they're in it, they're trying to get to that enough? Sometimes it's like, man, this is too much right now.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there are, and this is easier said than done, right? Like this is easy, like way easier said than done. But when we coach, I don't care what anyone says or like, coaching doesn't ever get personal. It is personal. Coaching gets personal. There's your business is connected to your personal life and your personal life is connected to your business. I don't care which way you want to divide it, shake it, whatever. What you're doing in your business is going to have a direct correlation to what's happening in your personal life, right? Do you agree?
Oh yeah.
You
And
know,
the other way, like what's happening in your personal life will
yeah,
impact how you show up in your business.
100%. Emotionally, spiritually, physically, all of it. And for myself, I haven't mastered self-regulation in a lot of areas, right? In a lot of areas. And I'm still really trying to work on some of that. But I try to get a grasp on I did the best I could.
Mm.
And I gave my 100% today might have been a little bit different on 100% tomorrow. And I've had to become okay with my version of how something should go. If it doesn't go like that, I have to be okay with how it did happen. Does that make sense? Because,
Yeah.
I'll give you a good example and you and I have joked about it. When I started traveling a lot 5 years ago, I think I remember you telling you, like, I meal prep, like, I marinate food, like, I folded up Bo's clothes. So, like, he just had to pick the clothes out of the pile, like, all, even including pajamas. Like, the house was set. And I would come home and the pile of clothes would not be touched and the food wouldn't be eaten. And I was like, WTF? Like, I literally prepared life for you, and they were able to suffice on their own without my preparation. And it took like 3 years before I was like, you know what? F it. Like, you guys you want to go eat at BW3, you go eat at BW3. And if you want to wear the same clothes every day, I guess wear the same clothes every day. But for me, it was letting go of that control, right? Of like, all right, I'm not here and they're fine. And the same thing when this year, was it Halloween week? It was Halloween. Halloween fell, and then we left for Leading Forward the next day. And we had a huge Halloween gathering here with Bo and all his friends. They haunted the yard. And I had to be okay knowing that I was coming home 3 or 4 days later with probably everything left exactly how I left it when I walked out the door. And that has taken a lot of practice, like not to freak the F out, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's okay. Everything will get done just in due time, and I guess for me that the advice comes at, it'll all be okay, even if it doesn't look like it is right that second. It'll all work out in due time of however it's supposed to work out. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's making me think about advice I got from a life coach years ago. And it was like a mantra to use that sounds a lot like your "it'll all be okay." And mine was, there's plenty of time for the most important things.
Mm,
And
yeah.
like just repeating that to myself, like when I'm feeling like I'm stretched, like there's so much going on, it's like, no, there's plenty of time for the most important things.
Yeah.
And I have found that on the days that I have more flexibility, even just in my mindset around what that day entails, the day feels longer.
Sure.
And on the days where I feel like it is back to back and I have all these things to do, it's like this day went so fast. And sometimes that fast is great and I love it.
Sure.
Like, oh my gosh, it was an amazing day. It went so fast. And other
Yeah.
times I'm like, I need more time. Where did the
Yeah.
day go? And like,
Yeah, day's over.
and you feel a little anxious then at that point. And
Yeah.
it's like, okay, there's plenty of time
Yeah.
for the most
But
important things.
everything always has a way of working out, even if it was a little bit beyond our control.
Yeah. So
Everything.
in that scenario, how do you decide like where to put your energy? Like if everything feels important, because you've got family, you've got work stuff, like you've got travel, how do you dictate that energy? What advice would you give somebody?
Well, and I learned this from you, and I think this is something that is a really big piece of one of the reasons that makes your leadership coaching so successful is, and you did this at Leading Forward, which is where I really gravitated towards it, was we set the frequency. We set the frequency, we bring the frequency. So whether, as a mom in a home, you and your boys, me here, we set the tone, whether we realize it or not. If, in my house, we're like, if mom ain't happy, nobody's happy. Right? Like and it's an old saying, but it's kind of true. And knowing that and paying attention to our energy, whether we feel like we've gotten the short end of the stick today or not, I still want to show up 100% wherever I'm at for that, right? So if I'm on the days, I have long days and short days with coaching. The long days sometimes get long because there's a lot of calls stacked on top of one another, and you're going till 7 o'clock at night. And I feel like I want to give my 6 p.m. call the same energy that I gave my 6 a.m. call, right? But I'm a morning person. I am not a night owl. Surprise, surprise, right? So 6 a.m. Jen LeBlanc usually has way more energy than 6 p.m. Jen LeBlanc. And I think it's over time we learn how, I'm going to kind of say it again, how to give our whatever version of that 100% is the 100%. Does that make sense? Like knowing that we set that energy, knowing that we set that tone, whether it's with our kids, with our spouse, with our friends, with our neighborhood, with our salon teams, with our spa teams. If we come in a big gray bucket of suck, they're gonna turn into that. They're gonna morph that, right? And I think that the way we project our energy is really important, whether we're at home or with our girlfriends. I mean, I'm sure we all have friends that like sometimes you're like when we're around them, you're like, God, they bitch the entire time. I don't want to be around that energy, right? Like I don't want to be around that negativity, for to use a really elementary word. But if you're around people that match your energy and you're like, dang, like I always talk to that person and I leave happier, well, you want to be around that person. So that person becomes a magnet, right? It becomes a magnet to you. They're a magnet to others.
So, how do you, in those scenarios, get your mindset in the right place when, because we all know that, right? It's like in the salon world, it's like, come in, you got to leave that stuff at the door. Like, we can say that. We're here to serve people. In our coaching work, we're here to serve people. We obviously both have life, though, outside of all the service work that we do in the industry. So, what is your way of doing that? How are you practicing the set it to the side to bring the right energy to the situation that it needs?
It's almost like compartmentalizing. And I coach a little bit to this. We have the home box, we got the salon box, and then they have like their coaching box with me. We have our friend box. We have parents, we have siblings. And I think it's being able to keep everyone, it kind of sounds kind of elementary, but it is pretty basic. If we keep everybody in their boxes, and when we're in that box, kind of like what we were saying, the commonalities between us, we try to be really present in that box. Like I don't want to be with Bo. And if there's an instance where I have to solve a problem and I have to stop for a second, that's fine. But I don't want that to be a repetitive nature where then I feel like he didn't get my attention and I probably didn't solve that problem the right way because they didn't have my full brain, right? Like I'm playing a video game and I'm trying to edit a transaction in the salon software, right? Like somebody's not getting the full focus. And I think over time, we have to become, maybe this helps. We have to become comfortable saying no and knowing that no doesn't mean that it's no forever. It's no, not right now. Does that make sense? Whether it's to our kids or to our spouse or to our teams, no doesn't mean no forever. It just means I'm also working on something different. And that's one thing with coaching that we talk a lot about because owners are pulled in a million different directions and coaching is love, coaching is accountability. And when we're talking, we're like, so where did we leave the project where we left off on the last call? And most owners, leaders are in some form of coaching for the accountability purpose, right? Like they're not necessarily signed up to improve themselves because they want to have warm conversations every day. They can do that on their own time. I could talk to you all day long. They're in coaching because we're going to help them move the needle, right? Yeah. We have something inside us that is not inside them that we can help bring out of them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so accountability is usually a really big piece of that puzzle that says, hey, why didn't we get to that? And if it's X, Y, and Z, it's like, great, now how can we help you get unstuck from that, right? Like what's the next step to help you turn that into us making progress going forward?
So you coach a lot of salon owners and men and women, but when you think about the themes and the biggest challenges that they face in their kind of personal leadership journey, not necessarily what's going on in the business or what's going on at home, but just like the theme of a person that has life and business, what do you see show up the most? Like what are the things most people are struggling to figure out?
Time.
How to have more, how to use it when you have it, like what?
I'll give you a really good example. I think we saw a trend, and it's not a trend, but we saw a shift of owner operators wanting to go from being behind the chair more to being able to lead their business more. And then we find that time, we get them that time, and then that time's not enough. And it's like, well, that 2 days a week to run the business and 2 days a week behind the chair still not enough time. I'm not getting anything done. And you're like, well, how are you utilizing your time? And men, women, whatever, they always get caught up in the fact that they walk into work and there's 12 million fires. So on their day that they're not behind the chair, they're like, where do you start? Right? Like where I walk in and I get bombarded. We need to replace the filter in the furnace. Our filtered water is empty. Our hot water tank is making a really weird noise. And they're like, but I really wanted to come in today and I really wanted to work on my cash flow plan, but now it's noon and I haven't touched the cash flow plan because I did all these other fires all day long, right?
And my
then
energy is probably shit because I'm stressed that I haven't touched the thing that I
because
said I was going to touch.
I haven't touched what I wanted to do yet. And so now the day is going to be over and now here's another day. I can't plan appropriately for my team and for my business because I essentially in a different way just got drained as hell being in the business, but in a different way. I was the maintenance person maybe today. Or maybe there was drama in the back room that I had to sit in and I had to put out all day. And now I'm pissed off that we thought we had that resolved and now we didn't. And now I lost a day pouring in, trying to fix a problem with the people. And I didn't get back to the things that I wanted to get to. And I think that's a repetitive conversation, whether you're multi-location, whether you're one location, their utilization of time it comes up every day, 10 times a day.
I was making some notes while you were talking because I was like thinking, gosh, that whole bucket hits so many things. It hits discipline.
Yep.
Like how disciplined are we with the time that we do have? Boundary setting.
Yeah, that's a huge one.
Learning how to have boundaries and then how to delegate. Because there are things that are going to come up that we don't need to handle. Somebody else could handle. But then are we like actually prioritizing what we should handle, what somebody else should handle? And then something I see a lot in leaders, especially in my leader labs, we're having this conversation, and I would say 98% of them challenge in this over fixing. Like, I'm just going to take care of it. I'm just going to do it because a few reasons. It's either I think I can do it better, right? Which is a fear and control thing that we can struggle with as leaders. Or I'm going to do it because it's going to get done faster. Like, I don't have time for this, which is, again, fear, stress, control. And I have a really, interesting, when I think about the overfixing, I've never been that leader. I've been probably the other side of, no.
You're in the 1% then, Steph. You're in the 0.001% with that.
But you know what drives that is the mindset that what is leadership? I think every leader has to be crystal clear. What does it mean to have a title that says you are a leader? And my version of that, hands down every time, is wherever somebody is, and I always use this kind of hand symbol so people watching will see this. If you're listening, it's, you're on step 1 and you want to get to step 10. The steps in the middle are the leader's responsibility to help you walk up. And if I fix everything for you while you're on step 1, you're never going to learn how to get to step 2 or step 3, certainly not step 10. And so that is a failure. And I am anti-failure as a leader. And sure, there are plenty of things that I don't do well, that I pivot from, even that I fail at. But my ultimate vision of leadership is never to go into the work to fail. It's I'm supposed to help you grow, actually.
Yeah.
So my whole being is no, I can't just solve that for you, because then you can never solve it for yourself.
Where do you think, I'm going to flip the script here for a second, because that is such a small percentage. Most leaders are micromanagers before they've learned how to appropriately lead.
Yeah.
And you're kind of saying you understood leadership. Is it was it an upbringing? Was it early on boots on the ground training? Because it's very rare. That's very rare that you're I walked into this knowing that my job is to make you better. Most, and I'm going to say the statistic, but who knows if it's right, but it's probably damn near correct. 90% of salons and spas that are open were opened by successful hairdressers because they were successful hairdressers that were good at attracting people, not necessarily anybody that had any business or leadership acumen that said, I'm going to create this amazing structure. And from the structure, I'm going to lead people. And you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, that's not, our world exists because our industry is pretty weak at that.
I think there's a few things to that. One, I think there's a big difference between a business owner and a founder.
Hmm.
And so I
That's a
think
whole
the
different podcast.
majority,
That's a
right? The majority of the beauty industry is made up of business owners.
hmm
And they start a business typically because they're good at a craft, and now they're like, okay, I want to grow, and they have great vision, and they're creatives, and they're excited about it. And then in that pool of business owners, the majority of them are not actually good at operationalizing
Yeah.
and creating systems for business, which is what keeps them stuck and keeps them overwhelmed and stressed by the lack of achieving their own goals. Like, not by anybody else's pressure on them, but like their own version of what they wanted to create is not coming true because they are not able to delegate and trust and lead the business. Then you've got a small percentage of business owners who do that very well, right? They can operationalize, they can delegate, they do like to lead, but they still have kind of a limit on what they ultimately are capable of pushing out into the world. Like and maybe they create that limit and they're good with it. And some of them are just truly stuck. Then you have a founder, and I would put myself in the founder bucket.
Sure.
Founders are highly visionary. Like, founders want to create new things. They don't just want to pick up a system that exists. Like, a business model for a salon is a business model for a salon. Right? Like, I can slice and dice that however I want, but like, it's the same functional operational model. The P&L, the benchmarks, the things are the same, whatever, like across.
That's why we say I can look at your P&L and tell you exactly what's going on in your business.
Yes.
I don't ever have to step foot in it. I don't ever. I
It's
can
like,
tell you
we know.
exactly what's happening. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think a founder mentality is a little more like, I want to create something that hasn't been created. And when you are in that level of thinking, where I live most of the time, and I've truly lived there my whole life, I've always just been this very big thinker, you absolutely have to be able to have other people help support the vision and creation of that, because there's just too much going on in your brain that if, and then the founder bucket actually splits in half too. You have the founders who have all the things going on in their brain, and they can never take the action because
They don't have the execution step.
They can't execute, and they're
Yeah.
so highly visionary, and they're so inspired by it, and they toggle between like high and low high, right? And then there's, I would say I'm on the other side of that, where like I'm highly visionary and I can execute, but the execution is not just me. It is, I want to bring people along beside me who I see potential in, and I have a deep desire to help other people hit whatever goal is in front of them, because I know what it feels like to hit a goal. And I like it. I thrive in like hit the goal. Like, I love it. Like, it's like drink the Kool-Aid of hitting goals.
Yeah.
And so the skill though that allows that for me, honestly, is I can download all these are the ideas. I can like mind map it out, big flip chart. Like, that's where it always starts for me. I do not limit anything. I vomit on paper. And then I ask myself how to put that into the buckets of like, what's first, what's second, what's next. And then I ask myself, well, who can do that, or what skills are required to do that? And that's where it becomes very easy to say, well, this thing here in the business, that's not my skill. And or I don't want to do that thing. That's what drives me a lot. I don't want to do that thing. I can learn any of the skills. I know that about myself. But there's things I don't want to do because my energy is better suited somewhere else. And so I think that's where I delegate well, because I'm like, someone else is going to do this so well, better than me, and they're going to like it, and I don't like doing it.
Sure. We call it at 124 Go. We call it putting the people in the right seats on the bus, right?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to put somebody who's not analytical and hates numbers. That's not going to be the person that's going to do my inventory.
Yeah.
You know, they're going to be miserable at it, and you're like, well, no, they're perfect for it. No, they hate it. You know what I mean? I don't want to put you in a role that you're going to despise, right? But going back to business owner versus founder, you know, there's a lot to unpack there too, because in the beauty space, they're owners, but they're creatives, you know? And so when you take creatives and you want creatives to then sit down and analyze data, there's a very small percentage that wants to geek out and be like, can't wait to build my cash flow plan with you. They're usually like, tell me what I need to do, and I'm going to figure out how to get it to your team. And you're like, well, there's more to it than that, right? But they want the quick fix, because in their head, they just want to get back to doing what they love and what they're comfortable doing. That's the key
Yeah.
piece. They're comfortable behind the chair. They're comfortable being the otter, the life of the party, the magnetic one. They're not comfortable being the lion, wanting to be the person that has to make a decision, might have to tell you something you don't want to hear, might have to make a change in the business for the good of the business that not everyone necessarily is going to like, right? Jim, it was a football coach, or is it Jim Rohn who, and I repeat it all the time. He says, if you want to make everyone happy, go sell ice cream. Don't be a leader.
Yeah.
Right. And because there's so much truth to that, that says sometimes we're not going to make everybody happy, including home.
Ourselves.
Yeah. Including
Or
ourselves.
home.
Yeah. And so there's a lot of almost like we have to be okay with being okay with some of that.
Well, and I think that's where some of the hard truth comes in for a lot of us too. It's like, if we find ourselves being the leader that is struggling to give the hard feedback, that kind of wants to stay in our lane, I mean, if I'm coaching that leader, then my honest question to them is, are you in the right seat?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because sometimes we take on things that aren't for us because
Yeah.
it felt really exciting and we loved the idea of it, and then we get in it and we're like, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. And I see that with a lot of leaders, and the unfortunate part about that is there's two options here. One is true recognition of like,
Mm-hmm.
I actually am not where I'm supposed to be.
Yep.
And that's all good. And like, that's a great awareness to come to and then make a pivot that suits you. The other thing is, I'm going to stay where I'm at, knowing there's things I need to learn to do this better, but am I disciplined enough to do it? And sadly, so many leaders in and out of beauty get stuck in that lane. Like, they may be where they're supposed to be, but they're not hitting the goals they want to hit. And it was 1,000% coming down to, are they disciplined enough to do it? Will they sacrifice? Will they stay in the work? Will they learn the skill that they're uncomfortable with? Because it's the skill they have to learn.
A lot of that comes down to, that the notorious question is, where's the money? And you're like, well, money has to have a plan, but like, it just doesn't pour in. You're like, it comes in, it goes out, and it's gone. And and so that's exactly what you're saying, is all of that takes some level of discipline to say, I'm going to be different for myself, for my team, for the business that I own, for my family. Those are all choices that they have to definitively make and stick to. And
I think every business leader, whether you're the owner, the manager that's in this journey, you have to understand that there will be times where the money's not there.
Yeah.
And you have a decision to make. You either stay in it and you stay focused and you get very disciplined and you know what you're working towards and you make it happen, or you swirl in the chaos and it stays that way longer.
Yeah.
Because you don't make those choices.
The tornado. Yeah,
you're in the tornado, and it's like, that doesn't have to happen. And that's where I think leaning into great resources, coaches like yourself, like mentors. I mean, I wouldn't be sitting where I'm at today doing the work I'm doing if I didn't actively have and constantly seek people that can check me, teach me, like hold me accountable. I can cry on their shoulder. Like, all the above has to be available.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially as a mom. And as a business owner, I mean, gosh, you just need so much support. It's like it takes a village.
It does.
To raise a kid.
Literally.
It takes a village to build your life in a way that
it does.
Like,
there's lots of different puzzle pieces with that, right? Like, lots of different puzzle pieces with that, for sure. For sure. Couldn't have said it better myself.
As we wrap up our time, and you think about the leaders that and the ones that you don't, but that do this work and try to balance all the things, like, what's a piece of advice you would give them if they're in that season that feels hard? Because I don't know about you, but I'm talking to a lot of leaders right now that are feeling like it's really hard.
Yeah.
So what would you tell them?
This is going to sound kind of elementary, but it makes sense, is for them to be sure, first and foremost, that they're actually following their why. Like, why did they get into this from the beginning? And have they lost sight of their why? And the next question would be, is this their purpose, or is this something that they're passionate about? Because it's different. And if it's both, that's amazing, but it's very rarely both for them, you know? And so when you're living out your purpose through your passion, you know, that's ideal. But reconnecting with their true why, because if you really know why you're doing something, like why you're doing it, and I'm going to tell a short story, 30-second story. I was on a plane, not this Thanksgiving, Thanksgiving before, it was like 2 days before Thanksgiving, and we had had multiple delays, and then we were sitting on the plane for a really long time, and I was sitting next to this gentleman, and he saw the picture on my phone, and it was a family picture, and he's like, I bet you can't wait to get home. And I was like, yeah. It was, you know, at this point I think it was like 1 a.m, and we've been sitting on the plane on the tarmac for like 45 minutes, and you're like done, right? Like I've been at the airport since 5 o'clock. And he was like, he showed me his phone, and he had his family on the front of his image too. And he was like, this is what we get to go home to. And he's like, not many people on this plane are going home to anybody. And he's like, because we know what we're going home to, we can tolerate this a little bit better because look what's at the end of our tunnel. And for myself, I've never, like, I haven't put up a post on Facebook, like it like stuck with me. You're like, oh my God, like I want to be friends. Like,
he
you know,
was like a little
it,
angel for you in that moment.
Yeah. And like, cause you're, you know, you're tired, and now you're like, now, you know, now I've passed the limit of my husband coming to get me at the airport. Now I'm Ubering, and we know we have Uber experiences, and the Ubers get weird the later in the middle of the night they go. And just the conversation that was wrapped up around it was almost like, yeah, like when you know your why, and you know why you're doing everything that you're doing, everything else becomes much more palatable.
Yeah.
And you could figure it out because you know your why.
So I have to ask one final question on that. What is the first step to figuring out your why?
Oh shit, come on.
Because you know, people who don't know their why are sitting there going, that sounds great, and I have no idea even where to start.
Call me. I mean, I think a lot of it has to do with what I had just said, which is knowing being able to identify what your purpose is, and being able to identify why you do what you do, and how does that correlate to your overall life vision of the why. And I mean, that's a 30,000-foot view of that statement right now, because that could get really deep really fast. That's a whole other podcast.
It is.
That's a whole other podcast. Yeah. Right. Awesome.
Thanks, Jen. This was amazing. Thanks everybody for listening. Make sure if you enjoyed this, give us a follow and watch for the next episode.